the method of using substitution doesn't work as well with equations that look like this. Because if I want to solve one of these two equations for t, then I'm going to have inverse trig ratios. Then I'm going to be putting those in for t here. So I'm going to have the trig ratio of an inverse trig ratio, and it's going to get kind of messy. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some tricks, actually a trig identity that we know that's going to be able to help us out with this. The trig identity we're going to use is the Pythagorean identity. You guys remember that? Pythagorean identity says that the sine squared of t plus the cosine squared of t is equal to 1. So I'm going to recreate this equation using these two equations. So how could I get say the cosine squared of t out of this? What could I do? I want to rewrite this as the cosine squared of t equals something. Because then whatever I get over here, I can plug it in down here for cosine squared of t. So what could I do? So if I divide by 2 to get cosine by itself and then square both sides, I'm going to get x squared over 4 for this. You guys agree with that? With this equation, I want to get the sine squared part here. So how could I get sine squared out of that equation? Yeah, do the same thing. Divide by 2 and then square both sides. So we get sine squared of t equals y squared over 4. So now what I can do is I can take this x squared over 4 here and plug it in for cosine squared of t here. And I can take the y squared over 4 here and plug it in for sine squared of t here. So what I get when I do that is y squared over 4 plus x squared over 4 equals 1. And to make this equation look a little more familiar to me, I can just multiply everything by 4. And if I multiply everything by 4, I get y squared plus x squared equals 4. And this is the equation of the circle that we graphed earlier in our calculator, right? As far as this is concerned, the values of t, we can check this. But if we start at 0, we're going to start at 2 comma 0. And then if we go to 2 pi, we're going to get back to 2 comma 0. So this interval right here, that's going to make one loop of a circle. If we went from 0 to pi, what would that look like? Half a circle, because it's half a period, right? If we went from 0 to 4 pi, what would that look like? It would be 2 circles on top of each other, right? So if we went from 0 to 4 pi, it would just be a circle and then another circle. And it would really be just one circle.